Haha guys, this time I'll show you how I made game look like this from this, with just few clicks, or not. Also, you'll see the first hero of the game.
If spring is the season that wakes me alive, then fall is the season to contemplate life. Oh, yeah. I don't know what is it exactly in this time of year that makes the melancholy me reappear.
So, to briefly explain how it works now, there is a large mob and there is a target where the worker should get to. The target so far is a tower. He has a place where the tower is located and he goes to it, finding the way himself. And how exactly add attacking logic here? The most logical solution is to wait for him to get to the destination and start attacking the first thing he sees nearby. Yeah, and so this will be one of the stats too. Because what if I have range attacking enemies in the future? They don't have to come up to the tower itself to attack, so the stat will be called attack range. And when the enemy comes with the radius of his attack, he can already start attacking. Also about attack itself. I used to create separate colliders for all weapons in order to always know exactly when the weapon touches enemy and always show the time of the attack correctly and beautifully. But now I realized that in order not to create the separate entities for each hero and for each weapon in the future, it's easier just to take away the enemy's health in the middle of animation, regardless of whether the sword hit the enemy or not, like animation. Since this is still a top-down game, it will be very difficult to notice it. But there will be no problems with setting up each new weapon, and now the enemy can cause damage to everyone. Next, I'll add a little beauty to the game. Recent days I have been very busy with self-flagellation and work projects, so it was very difficult to take up the game, but taking my hands in my legs, I began to change the visual part of the project. The first thing I did for this was to add a post-processing. But what is post-processing? Post-processing is a generic term for a full-screen image processing effect that occurs after the camera draws the scene, but before the scene is rendered on the screen. Post-processing can drastically improve the visuals of your product with little setup time. It's a great thing to do, but because I'm aiming more on mobile phones, I'll put somewhere in settings ability to lower post-processing effects or just switch them off. And see, after adding all the effects, the game was transformed. I will not explain in details what each effect applies to what, but you immediately see how much the picture changed after that. And if you want to read a little more about it, the link for more information will be in the description. But with the post-processor, we will not finish changing the graphics. Now we will change the skybox. The skybox is the sky that is in background, yeah. And we'll slightly change the light. There are several different light sources in the games. The spotlight, omnilight and ambient light. And the one that is used most, directional light. I'll tell you only about directional light and also put the link in the description for more information about the other types of lights. Directional light works like the sun and the main light source in many games. And also like the sun, the angle of incidence of the rays changes a lot. So I'll tweak it a little so that the shadows fall more correctly. Maybe in the future I'll put it so that it is just light without the shadows, but it's the thing for the future. Then we'll add a little fog so that the far away stuff won't be visible. Again, this is the alpha graphics, and in the end everything can change dramatically. Having finished improving the graphics, now I'm starting to create the first hero. The first hero will be a swordsman. Of course, I got him from Asset Store too. And he's totally free. Probably I'll start looking for 3D designer soon to smooth out all the graphics of the game. But the character is great with 3 different attack animations, so I've tweaked a little bit an attack speed to randomly choose the animation needed to attack enemies and added him into the project. Since the main base of the character logic has already been made, only difference between the hero and the enemy so far is only that the hero stands still and waits for the enemy to approach him. If you don't remember or haven't watched the previous video about enemies logic, then don't forget to watch it. Since I use AI, I basically don't need to do anything complicated here. I just create a larger trigger zone, and as soon as the enemy enters here, the hero will run to him. It's not that easy as it seems, so I try to change many parameters. Since there is no difference in the code, there is only one line that makes it to move towards the enemy. As a result, after millions of attempts, he somehow corrected himself. Most likely some of the parameters prevented him from moving correctly. So this is the magic of programming here. Well, in the end, the basic logic of the hero is made for the time being, and I think it's time for refactoring, because while I was trying to fix this bug, I changed a lot of things, and since there are already such bugs that I cannot be caught, it means that there are some problems with the architecture and it needs to be fixed. And as soon as I fix this, I'll probably move on to waves, so that enemies come on the waves. Also, then I'll move on to more advanced stats and their settings, and then to the skills, to one of the most difficult moments. And of course, the possibility of configuring all this through some settings so as not to worry. And in the future, bring it all in some kind of external stuff so that you can change it without reinstalling the project. There is quite a lot of work in general. I hope you will support me and I will be able to finish the project after all.